I'm Amy Dolan, and this is the Feeding People podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to Feeding People. I'm your host, Amy Dolan, and I'm so glad you're listening to our show. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your encouragement and your kind words. It's meant so much to me and to our guests, and I'm just really, really grateful. So many of you have asked how you can help us as we launch this podcast, and the best thing that you can do right now is go to iTunes and subscribe and then rate and review the show. We really appreciate that. It means a lot to this podcast as we get it going, and we'll help share it with more and more people. So thanks so much. Thanks especially to those of you who have already gone to iTunes and done that. It's been really fun to read your reviews and see what you think. We are here at the dinner table again tonight on a very special night, on the third night of Hanukkah, and I am so excited about my guests who are with me tonight. They're very, very special people who I have known for a good part of my life, all my life, pretty much. I'm so thrilled tonight. My guests are my mom, Wulbecker. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Amy love.
And my beautiful aunt, Auntie Myra. Hi, Auntie Myra.
Hi, Am.
Oh my gosh, it is just such a joy. I wish you could see all of our smiles right now. We're all just beaming right now at the table. It's so special to all be together. And I'm so thankful you guys are here tonight. I'm so thankful for what you'll share about your traditions and your culture and feeding people. And I love you both so much. So this is lovely.
We love you also. Thank you for the invitation. This is I'm just so honored.
You got it. So we've known each other a little bit, right? I think maybe 40 years. Is that right?
Plus some. Yeah.
Oh, right. My birthday was in September. It's 40 years in like 3 months. Look at that. So we've known each other for a little bit, and it's obviously just so great to have you here. How would you each introduce yourself? Mom, how would you describe yourself?
All right. I am Minuskin, Wulbecker, and I am second and third generation Russian Jew immigrant. I love Jesus. I've been married to a wonderful man for 41 years.
He's not so bad.
Jeff. And I have... we have 5 amazing children, young adults, and 4 fantastic in-laws. So I'm a mother-in-law, and 7 beautiful grandchildren. And I'm a sister, a daughter, and a friend.
Wow. I mean, like, I know you, but just hearing you say all that, I'm like, Mom, wow, what a life you have.
Oh, it's beautiful.
What amazing life. How many grand puppies do you have, though?
3.
3!
And 2 cats at home.
And 2 cats
3
at home.
3 grandpuppies.
What a full, beautiful life you have.
So fun.
Auntie Myra, how would you describe yourself?
Well, I am Myra Minuskin, and the proud sister of Marianne Minuskin Wulbecker, and the very proud aunt of Amy Wulbecker Dolan, and many, many more nieces and nephews. I would describe myself in this setting probably as a very proud sister, aunt, great aunt. I do not have my own children, and I am blessed with a whole crew of amazing young people that just fill my heart with joy every single day.
Yes, I as someone who receives all that love from you, I affirm that. I'm such the lucky recipient of all the love you pour out into us, so thank you. So tonight is the third night of Hanukkah, and we've just finished eating dinner. We had some pot pie. How did you like it?
Loved it.
I loved it too. It was beyond my expectations.
Good. So that's my niece Kate's recipe that I tweaked a little bit. So it was kind of like a sort of a family recipe a little bit. And then we had some cauliflower latkes those were sort of Hanukkah-ish, right?
Right.
And we've lit the candles. And so I thought maybe now that you two, we've lit the candles already, but I thought maybe now the two of you could say the Hanukkah prayer tonight for us for the third night. Would you do that?
We'd love to.
Love to.
Great. Let's do it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotov v'tzivanu lehalek ner shel Hanukkah.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. That was beautiful. You sounded so lovely. I asked before the show if you wanted to practice or warm up, and you both said no. That's just in your heart. You know it. That's one of the prayers you don't have to look up or anything, right? It's just been in you since you were a young kid. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So obviously the purpose of this show, my hope in this show, is that we can show all sorts of different ways that people are fed, that all sorts of different ways that people feed each other, different ways people gather around the table. And I'm so thrilled tonight that we're going to talk about specifically yours and mine, Jewish culture and our background and our heritage, and how that has influenced the way that you think about food and the way that you think about feeding people. And I really do believe food is human, right? Like that is something we all share. So I'm really excited on this show to showcase all different religions, all different backgrounds that highlight how food actually is spiritual and sacred and human to all of us. And so you're going to show us that tonight through your Jewish culture. And I'm so excited about that. So tell me just a little bit, Mom, maybe you can start about what food was like growing up in your family, and specifically food around the holidays or food around like certain traditions in your home. Like what was that like? What did you do with food and the holidays?
Food in the Jewish culture for me, and the religious part of it, was as an emotional thing. So if you had issues, you could talk about it. Vegetables wouldn't do it. Maybe a whole row of Oreos would help you feel better. But I think there was a lot of food, using food for emotional purposes, which is fun if it's used well. Otherwise, it's kind of overtakes. But yeah, we had a grandma that was all of 4'11" and just unconditional love. And so every Friday night she would make a huge meal for us. I'll let Myra talk more about that too, but my memory is that she would work all day, the same meal every Friday night, and have us over and send us home with a week's worth of food. So that's how much she would cook. But she would make chicken soup, which was the staple for us, and not just noodles, but she would make noodles and rice and kashi, which was like a grainy kind of substance to put in your soup, just so you could pick whichever you wanted to have in there.
Or matzo balls.
Right. So.
Yeah, it was all, for me, going to Grandma and Grandpa's every Friday night was all about the comfort and just of their home and their love and the traditional food that she would make, the brisket and the, home baked goods and the fruit cocktail for dessert. And it was just the warmth and the love and just that you can just feel it. You can just feel it in the food.
When you say fruit cocktail, that's what I remember on Friday nights when we would go to Grandma Fanny's and Papa Jack's house in the city, is the fruit cocktail at the end. And I don't know, maybe we didn't have that at home. It was like such a special treat. I always wanted the cherry that was in it, right?
But nothing was ever good enough. Like she would start with the canned fruit cocktail, but it wasn't enough. So she'd always add bananas and she'd add apples.
Yeah.
So you just had to make it just right.
Had to make it just right.
So you would go, all of your five siblings, and were there cousins? And no, just you would go, the 5 siblings would go with your parents, and you'd go over to Grandma and Grandpa's, and you'd have this big family meal, and that would be warmth and comfort and love and just like togetherness, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. It was just a real safe haven for all of us to be with Grandma and Grandpa and each other, and the smells that she'd been cooking all day and the flavors, and just knowing that every minute for her was about loving us. Every bit of labor was about loving us and looking forward to us coming over. And being able to package it up in jars and carry it all home with us, bags of carrying it all home with us, so that we would have it for many days after.
This is what I think of, and I don't know, I feel like I've always said this is like the Jewish part of me, but like you did this, and I don't know if this came from Grandma Fanny, that you always are sending people out the door with leftovers. Is that a Jewish thing?
I think it is. Even our mother, who was a phenomenal cook, if whoever was at the table that night, if part of the meal was gone, she didn't make enough.
Oh.
If there weren't leftovers, she didn't make enough food. So I don't know if that's a Jewish thing. Maybe it is, but
we'll just say it is.
There have to be leftovers.
Because that was almost like an extension. That's what I feel when I like send people out the door with just it's like anything is like, I want to make sure on their way home or tomorrow or tonight for a late night snack that they're like still taken care of. Right? That's what it was for Grandma.
That's what it is for me today, and I think I learned that from Grandma. Selfishly, that makes me feel so great when people take stuff home.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So what about so did you have Seders? Would you have special food around, it's Hanukkah. So like, are there certain foods that come to mind when you think about the Hanukkah season? You think like, oh, we always ate this, or we always did this.
I don't think for Hanukkah so much. For Passover, absolutely. We'd always have a Seder, and Grandpa, Papa Jack would lead the Seder. And as young kids, we were like, come on, when do we get to eat? But we loved it. And then he'd do the traditional things like Had the Matzah, and we would look for it. And yes, Grandma and Grandpa always had the Seder.
Is there a certain food from that meal that you remember that now, like when you think back on the Seder, you can like smell or taste?
I'd say gefilte fish and chopped liver.
Yeah. The only time I'd take one bite of gefilte fish, and that was because Grandma made it fresh, wasn't out of the jar. That was it. One time a year, one bite. Chopped liver I could eat anytime. Delicious to make with chopped liver. We were talking about this today with some friends, how Grandma made chopped liver. And the interesting part for us growing up is that there wasn't mayonnaise so much used. It was chicken fat. It was melted in with onions, and it was wonderful in mashed potatoes, and it was wonderful in
schmaltz.
Schmaltz.
Use the Yiddish word
That's
schmaltz.
Yeah, you had a jar of it in your refrigerator, and you used it all the time.
Really?
Yeah. She would skim it off the chicken soup. She'd make her own chicken soup every week, skim it off the top, put it in the fridge, and it gels, and that's what she would use instead of butter.
Oh, wow.
It's delicious.
Wow. Okay.
I think it's so healthy for you too. I just have to,
instead of butter.
Chicken fat.
That's what you want to do. Just add some bacon in with it. You'll basically be eating a salad.
That might change a little the Jewishness of it. I'm not quite sure, but
That's kind of like that. Okay, so you grew up obviously in such a rich culture with food and family and gathering people around the table. So now as adults with your own families, what does it mean now for you when you think about inviting people over to your house for a gathering or a big family event? How have you brought what you experienced in your childhood around big gatherings and food now into your own families as adults?
When I married your dad, we both realized that we have this enormous sense of family, and gathering is so crucial. I did not know that he had this piece of him that's so beautiful about the desire to celebrate everything, no matter what. And
hence
with
the half birthdays.
And what comes with that is he's always up for a gathering. Unfortunately for me, my hospitality, I don't have the gift of hospitality, so it's to borrow a phrase, I've had to exercise that muscle. And unfortunately for me, it was my expectations of what other people need, and the fear of, will I be able to take care of everybody, all their needs? Meaning, when they walk into my house, will it be perfect? When I think of what everybody likes, I don't mind making it, but will it be enough? And that's really paralyzing. But yet, work through it because it was really important. The more important part was the gathering. The part for me about, I just love people and I love being with people. And so that's been a long journey for me to somehow let that go, not have those expectations, but still, it's not the place where I go to right away where it's like, yes, let's have people over and it'll be super easy. So,
yeah, which is so, I mean, I feel like even like a few years ago, just learning that for the first time about you, which was just so crazy to me because we were always the house growing up where all the parties were. And I never would have guessed that you felt that way ever, because it always felt to me like this is what you wanted to do, and the home was clean and the food was great, and you just were such a like flawless host all the time that it just, I don't know, I never would have guessed that you felt that way. So it's fun to learn that about you, and to learn that even though you didn't feel like you had that gift or could really wanted to do that, but Dad did, that you figured it out. You figured out how to make it work for you because of the importance of getting everyone together.
Right. And that makes me feel great that you didn't notice the craziness of it that I was feeling.
I think it's because I was upstairs cleaning the bathroom every time. That's why I didn't notice.
Crazy. Yeah, that was craziness. Probably.
You sent me upstairs to clean the bathroom so you could like panic or something downstairs.
Yeah. I really wanted it to be a place where it was just joyful and everybody could gather.
Yeah. What about you, Auntie Myra? How have you taken what you've learned in what you experienced in your childhood around family and food and gatherings, and now brought that into your life and your family as an adult?
Well, I'm a little bit different. Maybe, I don't know if it's because being the youngest of five, just being the baby, I can speak to the people who don't love to cook and don't love to host people, but love the gatherings, love having people over, love to eat, love to share the love and the emotion that comes with sharing a meal. And then I'm always eager to clean up. That is so true. That is my contribution. That is what I love to do, because most of the time others have spent their time and their heart preparing the food and setting out the food and sharing the food. That my most comfortable contribution is to help with the cleanup.
I love that you said that. This is so great, because that is a really great thing that people can offer when they're either hosting a party with their family or they're a guest in someone's family. That is such a lovely, lovely thing. I remember a few years ago, my friend Jeremy was over for dinner, and he, at the very end, insisted on doing the dishes. And I was like, no. Like, we had all these people, and he was like, I got to load the dishwasher. And I was like, Jeremy, please, no. Like, and he said, actually, that would feel really good to me. I would really like that. And I was like, okay, have at it. And it was such a beautiful, like, gift of love to me at the end of the party, but then so good for him. It was like the way that he was involved in the party. And I think we don't talk about that enough, right? We think of it as like, when you have people over, it's about cleaning the house, having a perfect house, and making great food. But we don't think about the love that goes in at the end. I'm so glad you said that.
Sure.
You're welcome to clean anytime at the end of our parties.
I'm happy to.
Anytime.
Just keep feeding me. I'm happy
You
to.
got it. I like this team. This is a good team. So, Auntie Myra, your annual pool party that you have is so much fun. We look forward to it every year. You have all of us over, maybe like 20 of us or something, and we go in your pool and we have great food and all that. So why is that like annual party so important to you, given like what you feel about not cooking or hosting? Are you dreaming of the cleanup at the end?
I am. No, luckily I have a spouse, Peg, who loves to cook. She loves to cook.
Yeah.
She loves to entertain. She loves having people over. And the reason that we love doing the pool parties because it's something that we have that we can share with others. We'd love to have people more often. We just live kind of far away from most of the rest of the family. But it's just because we have the pool, we have the outdoor space, and just something we can share.
Yeah.
Something we can just share with the family at a time where, it's nice to be outside most of the time.
Yeah, it's so you can feel all the love in your house when we're there. You can feel all that. So you both have mentioned this now, so I want to just talk about this for a minute because I think this is such an interesting thing. When you have a spouse who maybe is different than you when you think about hosting parties, right? And because I think that is common for a lot of people. It took Kelly and me years and years to figure out how we could do this, right? Because I was basically like, we're going to have people over every single night. We have an infamous story about how he was on his way back from a trip once. And I was like, he had this terrible trip and it was really long and he just wanted to get home. And as he was calling me on the phone, telling me he was on his way home, I'm like, this is great. I invited people over for dinner. And he was like, I'm going to die. No. And so I like to invite people last minute. I like to invite as many people as possible. I want it to be every night, all that. And Kelly and I have had to work a long time on figuring out how it's good for both of us, right? It's not actually good for me to have people over every single night all the time and invite them. Okay, that's right. That's a good learning for me. But we figured out how we can host together, what each of us brings to it. So do you just have anything else? I'd love just any other advice you'd have for people on how you have a spouse who maybe feels differently or has different strengths when it comes to entertaining. Any tips for someone on how to do that?
I think it's just compromise, everything in a relationship. It's just compromise. If your spouse loves to entertain, do it and do the best you can. Again, I always love it. I'm always like, la. But once people are there, I love it, especially family. I never hesitate with the family one. I love that one. But with other people, friends, work people, whomever, there's always that, I don't know, maybe not. I'm a homebody. I love being home. I love the quiet. I love the peace and quiet. But it's important to share your home and share that love and share that warmth. And so for people like me who aren't huge on hosting, just let it happen and you will enjoy it. And then again, work your strengths. My strength is the kind of talking with people too while things are getting done in the kitchen. Part of my job is to, chat with people.
Yeah.
And then clean up. So it's all about compromise.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. And it's all about having to talk about it and to talk about it and see what each person is comfortable with. And the learning part of it, the doing it and realizing the blessings you'll get when you were too anxious to see them beforehand, and then then it's all gone. Everybody's gone, and it's like, oh, that was wonderful. Why do I feel the anxiety before?
Yeah,
and then to be married to Dad and have him say something like, you shouldn't worry that the house is perfect because we are really doing a service to everybody who comes over because they'll look at our house and think how great theirs is in comparison. No. And I would be like, that's perfect for me. That's perfect for me because that really actually worked with me to make me relax and say, but he always comes up. But it's that discussion about, because, Dad wouldn't like people there every night either. And, celebrations and family and gatherings, and that's so important.
That's what's important, right?
Yeah.
I love that you've said that there's something for all of us to get past. There's compromise. There's a way to figure it out. And I think what's so lovely is the intimacy in hosting with your spouse. Like you said, it's so beautiful. You did this together. You each did your own things, and then afterwards, you're like, we did that, right? It's such a beautiful thing to do together. You got past your fears.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Mom, I wanted to ask you guys are great guests. We're having so much fun at this table tonight. So Mom, I wanted to ask you about Thanksgiving this year because it was a little different than normal. In the past, you've done a Thanksgiving brunch at your house. And this year, we decided Jackie, my sister, would host at her house and you would make the food for it. And then, we had two Thanksgiving. That's right. We had the Thanksgiving dinner the night before. You and Auntie Myra brought food too. And then we had the brunch in the morning, but both gatherings were not at your house. They were at Jackie's house and you contributed the food. And so I just wanted to know like what that was like for you and how you felt about cooking and not hosting Thanksgiving at your house.
It was, at first I was tentative because I just wanted to make sure that Jackie really was okay with it and understood what she was offering. And then, a little bit about myself is, well, how will I be okay with all this? But she really convinced me that it was a perfect setup for the kids to be involved and have projects to do and flex their hospitality muscles. And it really worked out well. And what I didn't see happening was that I loved the cooking part. And I didn't see that how much I could relax and be engaged in conversations, not thinking about what everybody might need in that process. Like, does another casserole need to come out of the oven? Or is there enough sausage here? Has everybody gotten whatever they've needed? And at Jackie's, we set it up and she was fine with everybody taking care of themselves. Like you taught me years ago, everybody's responsible for taking care of themselves. And it was a great teamwork with everybody bringing stuff and Jackie saying she loved it, and it was that her house was opened up and the kids loved it. And so it was different, but I was telling people it was probably one of my favorites ever.
Wow. That's so cool that it wasn't at your house and one of your favorites ever.
Right.
I had such a great time. Thank you both for the food that you contributed and Jackie for hosting it, but it was such a lovely time. And I just love this idea of not thinking that we have to do it all. If we do want to gather people together at the table, if we want to entertain, if we want to feed people with great food, we don't have to do it all. We don't actually have to do all the cleaning, have it in our homes, make amazing food all the time. As I'm even saying all those things, I'm like, how did we get to a place where we think we're like having to do all those things and be the best at all those things, right? Like, not only is my house spotless, but I made the best food ever. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
We really should share it
standards.
and do it together.
Right.
Yeah. That's really nice. So, what is just one piece of advice? Like, what's advice you would give to someone who thinks that, feeding people or gathering people around the table is just too hard, right? We've talked a lot tonight about how special it is, how meaningful it is, how it's always worth it afterwards. But like, what's one piece of advice you'd give someone who just thinks like, no, all of it is too hard. I want to gather people, but it's just too hard. What's like a simple piece of advice?
I would say not to worry too much about the food. I know that sounds kind of silly, but I always try to put myself in the other person's shoes. When I go to somebody's home, it doesn't always matter what we eat. It's just being there. It's just being together. It's just sharing whatever we are eating in our time and our love. And we only invite people into our home that we want there and that we want to share that with. So I would say not to worry too much about overdoing it, because it's more about just being together.
That's wonderful.
And I would say, think about what your comfort zone is, and think about, are you comfortable with a few people coming over? Are you comfortable with a lot? Are you comfortable going out somewhere and sitting at a table? Because there is magic that happens at a table with relationships and food that you're sharing, and you're looking at each other. And for me, it's just to keep remembering that whoever I'm at a table with, at my house or anywhere else, at somebody else's house or at a restaurant, it's just an opportunity to listen to someone, to learn from someone, and to love someone. And that's who I am. I get so excited about those particular facets of just the excitement of meeting up with somebody around a table is what I would say. Just look forward to that instead of the details. Details just don't matter.
Come on.
She's pretty cool, that mom of yours, isn't she?
That was so profound.
And I've shared with Amy before that I am better if you just knock on my door. I am better if you if I don't know and I'm not put in the position to clean and to prepare everything so everything's so special for you, if you just knock on my door and you have no expectations of the food I have in my house or the condition of my house, I might panic for a second or two, but those are the richest conversations where people just come in and have a seat, and whatever I have I can offer, but here we are. And it's just all about relationships.
So beautiful, so helpful, right? In thinking about hosting or inviting people in, that when we do invite people in, that's all they're wanting. That's all they're expecting. They're not inspecting your toilet bowl to see if it's perfectly clean, right?
Right.
But we think they are.
Right.
We think they are. So they're coming to sit at your table and eat your food and be with you. And so, right, how can, when we invite people and host, remember that,
Right. And for me, I always have to remember that when I go somewhere else, I really couldn't care less about the details. I really couldn't care less about the cleanliness or anything. I don't know why I've decided to place that responsibility on myself.
That's why I said I try to put myself in other people's shoes, and as a guest, I don't look at those things either. I do remember your home all the time that the kids were growing up. You have all adult, amazing children now, but your back door, you never locked your back door. And that's where all the kids of all ages would just walk in your back door at all times. And I'll add this story. I was in Mom's neighborhood a couple months ago, working, and said, "Hey, how about if I stop by for lunch, bring something?" She said, "No, I have food." And I just walked in, and it was like sweet tomatoes. May it rest in peace. It was like,
could you bring it up?
She could have fed 20 of us with just the food she had in her refrigerator, while also being Grandma Wednesday at the same time. But that's who you are, and that's what your home is like, and that's what's so amazing about you and your family.
Yeah. I really love that advice about putting yourself in someone else's shoes. That's a really beautiful thing to think about. One thing I try to do when people invite me over is I just go above and beyond to compliment their food. And I didn't realize till you just said that right now. I do that because I love when people do that to me. And that's such good advice. I think, like, when you're eating at you're sitting at someone else's table, think about what would be really special and meaningful to you. It doesn't mean it will be exactly a match for that person, but that's a great way to compliment or be grateful or show your appreciation for what they've done. So I just want to end with the best meal you've ever had. It could be in a restaurant, it could be with your family, it could be out, whatever. It could be something you could brag on yourself, the best meal you've ever made. But what was it like? Who were you with? What do you remember about the meal?
Well, being a person that lives in the moment and lives for today, the best meal I ever had was dinner here tonight.
Oh, yeah.
With my beautiful sister, Mary, and my beautiful niece, Amy, and my beautiful nephew, Kelly.
Well, the show's over. Thank you for listening.
We are done.
Thank you. That's very nice. Do you want a second answer?
No.
Okay.
That's an honest answer. That's my final answer.
Thank you.
Your final answer. Yes, it was lovely tonight. I'd have to say, and there's been lots of good meals again, but I'm going to go back to those Friday nights. I'm going to go back to those Friday nights at Grandma's when, even though we knew what she was cooking and what we'd be eating, it was about a time in our week where it was a safe haven and it was a time to just be and drink in the love. I think it sustained us for the next week after that. Mm-hmm. So I'd have to say those were probably my most deep feeling memories of eating a meal. Yeah.
I love that. Food, that's the power of food, and that food is love, right? That it brings us right back to that time and sustains us and nourishes us and gives us strength to go for the week. So
yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I remember early on in starting Sunday Supper Church, one of my mentors and advisors told me that the reason I wanted to do this church maybe was because of my Jewish heritage and the way that my Jewish relatives had fed me and gathered me around the table since the early days of my life, and that as I was just becoming an adult and becoming who I was meant to be, I would just carry that out in a different way. And so I'm so thankful for your heritage and the way that you brought that into my life since the very beginning. And now as a 40-year-old, I feel like it's my own. And I love, love, love that I'm Jewish and that I follow Jesus. And to me, it's just so rich. And I'm so thankful that you both have given me that. So
having the privilege of knowing you all your life and watching you grow in who you are, I always love the world to know two things. And that is that you always picked out the cupcake at the bake sale that you knew nobody else would take consistently. And then the other part of you was to walk into the kitchen and say, can I set the table? And you would explore way into the rafters of dishes that were dusty and that were never to be seen again, and you'd pull them out. And here you are with Sunday Supper Church, with people who need to know Jesus and know that they're included and that they're loved, and you're serving a meal on the wonderful dishes that you've created. So
thank you, Mom.
To watch all your life come to this place, it's been a wonderful journey to watch.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you for letting me pick out those dishes so that I could keep setting longer and wider tables even tonight.
Perfect.
You just gave me a whole bin of dishes from your shed. So you just continue to encourage me to find the dusty dishes and set them out for people.
And you're doing such a good job with that.
Sometimes I clean them off. Sometimes I don't. Sorry, everyone.
Added flavor.
Well, happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you so much for joining us. This has been so lovely, and I'm so thankful. I love you both, and I'm so glad you were here tonight.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. I love you to pieces, and I'm just so proud of you.
Yes, thank you. I love you too.